Alright, this time on Building the Exocet, I'm going to show you how to install some paint protection film on your Exocet chassis bars. First thing, if you guys like my videos, please hit subscribe and like down below. It helps me out a lot. Okay, so as I've had my car, the frame powder coated for a little bit, the powder coat is extremely resistant to scratching and chemicals like brake fluid, things like that. It's very nice at that. However, it can still get scratched. So, as OCD as I am about paint and things like that on cars, I decided it's time, and I've been considering this for a while, to put some paint protection film on the upper bars here. I purchased basically this 12-inch by 48-inch roll off Amazon. What I'm going to do is cut it into about 2 or 3-inch strips by 4 foot long, and I'm going to put kind of, someone on the Exocet page had brought up a good thing of, coating this bar or applying it to this bar here to help from the fiberglass on the hood, even though the bottom of my hood's now painted, getting that here to help resist scratching from the fiberglass on that. And I'd already planned on doing these. So the idea is I have a 4 foot long piece, and I'll be cutting it into 4 pieces out of this roll. So that'll basically leave me 4 feet for both sides under the hood and 4 feet for each side of the passenger compartment. Okay, so the first step here is to clean the area you're going to be applying the film to off. Then you no longer want to touch it with your hands. You don't want any oils, greases, waxes, things like that getting in the way to cause adhesion problems. So I'm going to take some isopropyl alcohol and a clean microfiber, basically just spray some on the towel. And I have a fair bit of wax on the car. So I want to make sure that I can get that off. Before applying the film. Okay, so one thing that works real well with these vinyls, and I've had this any type of wrap I've ever done, I've done this with, is they come rolled up, and obviously there's still some curl in it. So what really works well to basically loosen up and let it relax is just take a heat gun on like low and basically just kind of go over the surface real quick. I think they say around like 120, 130 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and go to high here. You don't want to get too close because it will burn the material. And that just kind of helps it lay out flat, loosen, become more pliable. It's also good to keep a space heater going if it's cold out, or if you're not in a very warm area. It's good to keep a space heater right by you while you're cutting and working with it to keep the temperature up, because that just helps it more pliable, helps it flex a little better, stretch a little better, things like that. Okay, so make sure your area is very clean, free of dust, everything like that before you start cutting or working with the vinyl, as you'll start seeing dust nibs and particles in it if you don't have those out first. So I'm going to do these 2 edge pieces are going to go, basically 3-inch piece here, 3-inch piece here, are going to go on the main car rails by the passenger, by the seats. Main reason I'm going to do that is because these will have a nice straight edge. I'm going to put those on the outside visible edge, just so if you can see the film, which I'm pretty sure you'll be able to, still, I don't want it to be a even slightly jagged edge. I'm going to use those ones underneath the hood where it won't be near as visible. So I got those marked out, and now I'm basically going to take a straight edge. I got it laid exactly on those lines. And then normally I'd use a utility knife, but I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and make a nice straight cut here. Okay, so that is one piece. Okay, so on the front bar I have my headlight mounts. I'm actually going to do a 13-inch piece in the front and a 28-inch piece on the rear part of the hood. So I'm basically just going to take a square here and make a quick mark. And then I'm going to cut each of those out. Okay, so we're going to start here on the front of the car. One thing you're going to want to do, or that I like to do first, is basically I like to take my air gun, get that over here, and I like to just blow any dust or dirt off the surface, as well as off the surface of the film. Now you'll want to take a mixture of a few drops of soap and about 16 ounces of water. I just use regular dish soap, Johnson's baby shampoo, things like that work fine too. And basically I like to liberally wet the surface. With that, basically the soap's going to provide lubricancy for your film so that it will not stick. I also like to go ahead and real quick just wet down my hands. I wet down my squeegee. Just make sure nothing that's going to come into contact with the adhesive is dry and that everything is lubed up well. Then I will take a heat gun real quick and I'll go ahead and just heat up the film once again. And now after I've heated it up, I'll go ahead and just rinse it off real quick with some of the soapy water. Making sure my hands are still wet, then I'm going to slowly just peel away an edge of the film. Peel it off. And I'm going to liberally apply the soapy water solution again. And now it's time for the initial placement of the film. And I recommend starting here in the hood section, mainly just because it's not going to be seen as much, not as visible. So it's a good idea just to do this to get started on that. Then once I have the film in the approximate position, I'm going to do one quick swipe across the top. That will kind of seat the film a little bit in the location you want. Then I'm going to take my squeegee. Once again, make sure you have plenty of soapy water here. Just going to kind of give the initial grab there for the film. And it's pretty much right where I want it. Now I'm going to go ahead and soak it down again. And now I'm going to do some harder strokes, basically trying to remove any liquid bubbles out from underneath the film. It's very important to get those bubbles out, as you will see them quite apparently if you don't. They'll look as a milky spot. Sometimes in the smaller bubbles, they will kind of evaporate and release in a few days, but you want the least amount of bubbles possible. And if you're in a spot like up on the upper part here and kind of the bend on the main rails, there's a little bit of a bend to the rail. The film, actually, if you take a heat gun and you heat it up, it will slowly start to kind of stretch and contour to that shape. And I basically just kind of keep going over that until I don't see any more bubbles of fluid underneath the film. And also any cutting or trimming that you may have to do needs to be done beforehand. They do make like a string line, like a fishing line tape that goes underneath that once you get it seated you can peel away and it will cut through the film. It's just really not needed to go through the expense of purchasing that for this type of application. Okay, and then I like to, once I have the film pretty much on where I want it, the bubbles out, and basically right where I want it, then I like taking a heat gun over it. I think you want to heat it up, I think it's around 120, 150 degrees. You have to refer to the directions of the film you're using. But I like to turn the heat gun on because that will kind of, once again, loosen the film a little bit, relax it some, and allows it to kind of mold into the more permanent shape that it's going to be acquiring now. Okay, now I like to just kind of feel my fingers along the edges to make sure they're pushed down right. Make sure there's no spots where I cut, where there's some film that needs to be kind of tore off or removed, and maybe there's a little hangnail or something on it. All right, other than that, I think that turned out pretty good. You can barely see I mean, I have to look in the light to see the edge of the film, which is really nice. So it held up good and or applied good there and nice on the tube. So now we're going to move over to the second section back here of the hood and keep going. Okay, so this section has already been pre-cut now, but there's one thing that I need to look out for. I'll get my film in its approximate location, and this crossbar here is going to be in the way. So I want to not apply it to any of the welds on the car because I just don't think it applies well in that area. I think it makes it quite a bit more visible. So I'm going to go ahead and get it where I want it on the frame here in the approximate positioning, and then I'm going to make some marks on the film. Now I'm going to go ahead and take it back, and where I have these marks, I'm going to go ahead and just basically cut those out with my X-Acto knife. Okay, so now that I got my film cut, I'm going to go ahead and blow this off with some air. The other thing you got to watch out is while you are putting the film down with the squeegee, you will notice that the film can stretch more. It has quite a bit of stretch to it. So you need to make sure to account for that as you're applying the film, that you're not overstretching it in areas and causing it to hit areas that you don't want it to hit. Now, as I was alluding to earlier on the inside rail here, you will start to see some curling in this area because of the bend in the bar. So what I usually try to do is get right in the middle of that curl and kind of work my way out. And if you start to have too much trouble, you can always take the heat gun, and that will help kind of, once again, reshape the film to what you're looking for. But the bend is so minor that the film just kind of does find its own flatness in time. But toward the end, I think it's a good idea just to take the heat gun and kind of help give it a little bit of heat to preform it to the panel before you're done. Alright guys, that does it for this episode of Building the Exocet. I'll show you guys a video of how the clear protection film looks over the top of the rails here in just a moment. But thank you guys for watching. Please hit subscribe and like down below. I will see you in the next one.